Welcome back to my channel. Today I thought I would do an update on the dual wheel conversion for the Atlas 6x6. Not a lot of information here, but you might be interested. First thing we want to work on is the distance or the clearance between the tires and the shocks. I'm going to work on that a little bit. Then we also built some more wheels for the front to match the back. And here's a picture with some locking lug nuts on it. And here's another one with regular lug nuts. And I think I kind of like that one. We'll see how that goes. Then I do an overview of all the work that it took to get all this. And put them on the truck. Enjoy.
I was thinking, why don't we make the captive hex patterns for the nuts? And I just printed a little test piece right here. And the idea here is you can just kind of slide the nut down into that socket, and then it's much easier to put the bolt in from the other side. And I made a little indent because it wasn't getting enough threads on the axle nut when I threaded it on. So I indented it, inset it down a little bit, and I want to make that hole big enough for the lug wrench to fit, but it looks like I could make that hole a little bit bigger diameter, and then those nuts would be completely captive instead of having one side open like that. Here's the matching parts for the front wheel. That's the rear. There's the front. I'll get some bolts in it. Screws go in from the back. And the nuts go on the front. And there's the finished wheel. There's the rear. You can see all the black bolt heads. And the front with the 4 screws that come through. So when it's on the truck, that will look like lug nuts. Okay, there we go on the truck. We now have a matching set of wheels. Oh, I made one more change here. I can't really see it very good in that detail. I'll try the other camera, other lens. I made captive hex holes for the nuts so that they're easier to put together and take apart. I was just thinking, proportionally, especially with that bed leaning, hanging out the back like that, just that single axle without that front intermediate axle, that looks maybe more proportionally correct. Hey, I'm thinking of another crazy idea. And I'm looking at these shocks to figure out how to get a little more clearance on the tires. And I can see that there's a little bushing at the top there where it attaches to the frame. And if I could make that bushing a little bit thinner, like cut it in half, and also there's a screw that goes through the shock and holds it together. And I'm thinking, one is maybe shaving the end of that screw off just enough so that it's flush, flipping it around so that it's right up really close to the frame. I'm gonna give that a shot. So what I'm thinking here is we got this top piece, and we got this little screw that holds it together. So the minimum idea would be to trim off just a little bit off the end of that screw so that it doesn't stick out. And then a more major idea would be to countersink into the plastic so the head goes down a little bit lower. So my idea is to drill this hole out a little bit bigger so that this head can fit down inside of this cap and not stick out like that. Because it doesn't have to grip this with threads, it only has to grip the centerpiece. So that's what I'm thinking of doing, is drilling this out and then cutting the end of the screw off so that it is flush on both sides as best as I can get it. This is either going to work great or it's going to destroy this part completely. Okay, so that screw head now should be somewhat flush with the outside of that. And then we'll just take the little cutting wheel and we'll cut off the extra threads that stick out. Once again, you can see what a terrible idea I had. Ripped this thing apart almost unusable. After my completely bad idea of trying to cut that little stud off while it was in the plastic and it ended up melting it and stuff, I managed to salvage another shock top off another RC vehicle. Some shocks that I had on an SX24 or SC24, I don't remember. Anyway, it wasn't quite the same. I ended up drilling a hole through it, but I did manage to get it mounted back on there. My new idea now is to take the existing shock top, cut this reservoir thing off the side, drill a new hole in from 90 degrees from this side, so now the bolt would be going this direction, so I'm free to get it closer to the frame and it's not going to rub on the wheel. I think I salvaged it not because of good choices, but because we figured it out. Okay, we're going to try this again. Here's one I haven't modified yet. And what I want to do is I want to change this hole 90 degrees so that it's coming in from this side. Here's an idea. Instead of having the bolt go all the way through, I could actually leave this thing on here and just drill out into it and then put the bolt in from this side. Okay, I think that's what I'm going to try. I was going to cut this off, but let's give it a try with just drilling. I might start out with this drill right here, which fits about that. It may be a little undersized, but last time when I tried out with a bigger drill, I ended up destroying this little piece fairly quickly. Now if I can just get that screw to get started in that hole. Oh, looks good so far. Now if I can just get it to go through the end of the shock. Okay, there it is on the truck. Now the next decision is how I want to trim that bushing. And then I'm thinking I'm going to cut it in half. We'll see. I slid it over a drill bit to hold it, and probably better yet, so I wouldn't lose it. give this a try here. See what happens. I'm going to pull the drill bit out. Hold my fingers on it. Maybe you won't see what I'm doing, but I'm going to try it. It's getting close. Wow, incredibly small pieces cut in half. And it was a little tight. I couldn't quite get a piece of paper in there. So I thought I would cheat a little here. Let's try that. Okay, there we are, assembled. And I got half a bushing in there now. And it's tightened up. And this piece of paper just barely fits through there. So that's that's as much as we're going to get. I like that. Okay, see if there's a difference. You can see the stock side there. Little gap. Plus you see the head of the screw. And there's the one that we just made. Can't really see the gap, but there's enough to get a piece of paper through there. And the screw is now the other direction, so the tire should now be able to rub against here if it does. Not much difference, but maybe enough. I took the bushing off and filed it down a little bit, and you almost can't see the gap anymore. Is it going to make a big difference? Probably not, but I'm happy with what I'm doing. Okay, we just keep getting better. I printed out a couple sample back plates for the rear wheels with different size holes in them, because I want to be able to have them hold these nuts in here. And what I found is the 4.31 is a little too tight. 4.33 fits just about right. Some of these, and they vary a little bit because they're not all perfect. That one's a little snug, but I'm thinking that the 4.33 is going to be the one we'll put on the wheel. Now, I think the specs for these things say that the nominal face-to-face measurement across these nuts is supposed to be about 4 millimeters. And using the thing here, the 3.9 seems to be about standard for these. I checked a bunch of them. They vary a little bit. But because of the nature of the printing, the thickness and the melting and the cooling and that you have to kind of do a trial and error to get these numbers right. So even though this is about just under 4 millimeters, I actually had to tell this to print at 4.33, and then because of the thickness of the filament or whatever, it comes out to be a hole just about the right size. So that's what I'm going to go with. Here's the latest on the front wheels. I just got some non-nylock type of nuts because I thought this would look more realistic, like real size lug nuts. You can see the 6 bolts put in from the back, and then the nuts on the front. And these are 2 millimeter, 16 millimeter long bolts with the nuts on them. Just in case you're interested, here's all the parts that it takes to do what we've done. It takes 10 tires, and of course the Atlas only comes with 6 plus a spare, that's 7, so we had to come up with 3 more. And for this, I'm just borrowed them from my other truck until I get some more tires. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 8 inside and outside rims for the back. We have 2 inside and outside wheels for the front. We have 4 spacers. We have 10 wheel inserts, 36 lug nuts, 12 16 millimeter bolts for the front, and I believe that's 24 8 millimeter bolts for the back. If you were to think about how much work this is, not counting how much it takes for all the designs and the trials, there's 26 printed parts here, and if each part takes, say, 30 minutes to print, that's about 13 hours of printing just to produce this, plus the taking it on, taking it off. So it's kind of a major job, but it's one I'm enjoying. Here's the rear wheel with the captive nut sockets. They're fairly snug. They squeeze them in so they don't really fall out easily. And then when we go to thread in the bolts from the back, it should hold it really good. So I'm going to go ahead and try to put this together. And that worked really well. It was easy to get those bolts started, easy to get them threaded in there, way easier than trying to hold those nuts either with fingers or with needle nose pliers. So I'm happy. Okay, here we are with all the wheels on. Zoom in a little bit here. You can see the details on the front. All the lug nuts in the rear are inset into the wheel, make them easier to put on.
Thanks again for joining me today and watching my videos. We just had a wind up or an update on the dual wheels. You saw what we did with the shocks. That was kind of fun. And the new tires for the wheels for the front. And the how big of a job this was. And now we're back on the truck. Thanks for watching.